he really gets into the idea of a paterfamilias. I think it's paterfamilias, you know, the father of the home, and the in patriarchy. He really breaks that down, and gives a really good kind. It's kind of practical too. Some of the stuff he advises in there, and it's been like 2 years since I read it, so I don't want to do it a disservice. So I would just direct people there. But I do want to say that when you become a husband and a father, you know, I'm not speaking necessarily to you, but just when I say you, just whoever's listening, who isn't one. There's going to be a lot of, and I don't have a ton of experience, but I do have two little girls, and hopefully to have a bunch of kids. You know, we'd love to have, you know, at least 7 or more. Who knows? And whatever the Lord blesses us with, and when you have a wife, you really need to. One of the most important tips I give guys when they ask. Somebody just asked me the other day. He's like, I'm going to be a dad for the first time. What type of advice can you give me? And I told him, you have to make it a priority to be present with your children. And I think in that book, it talks about how if you bring the household economy back to, I hope it's that book. I hope I'm not thinking of a different, I've read a lot of books lately. So if you bring the household economy back to a household scale where you can be present with your children and you can actually be there. Like I have a situation right now where I'm home the entire month of January. The store is closed, and I generally I'm home like half of the week, and then I'll leave for work the other half or whatever. But I get to spend a lot of time with my children and my wife, and that means direct discipleship of both. There's a lot more control in a good sense than I can exert, and a lot more influence I can exert over my family and gravitas, so to speak. And so one of the things I mentioned to the guy was, be present with your children. It's very cliche, right? You hear that a lot, but it means like, and I'm not perfect at this by any regard. I have to get better, but it means like, putting your phone down for an intentional amount of time, doing family worship. Like that's one of the things that was a big thing for me the latter half of last year and this year in particular, New Year's resolutions and stuff, is to be more consistent with family worship. So like after dinner, we go into either the living room or the playroom, and I'll read a chapter of the Bible, and then I have the Reformation Heritage Books Family Worship Bible Guide. And you read it's really short. It's like a paragraph or whatever. You read their kind of synopsis of the chapter that kind of, helps make sense of it and stuff, and you ask some questions. Literally something that simple. To just carve out that time will pay huge dividends, and your wife will respect you a lot more too. And you're catechizing your children in that way. And the other thing that I made a point of doing, and this is just what I do, but it's something that has been an outgrowth of really trying to intentionally be more present with my children, is one of the things that I do is whenever I put my girls down for bed, one of them's 8 months old, so I don't do this with her yet because, she can't even understand me. But the other one is 2, and she's a really smart 2. Like she's been speaking in full sentences since like 14 months old. She's super advanced. And so, I mean, she can have she's not even 2.5. She can have a full conversation with adults when she's not acting shy. And that shyness is not a bad thing. It shows me that I am doing my job as father, giving her all the masculine attention she needs, because she has no interest in being around other men. And there's some little girls out there that will jump up into anybody's lap and stuff. That usually is a signal that they're not getting the attention from the father that they need. So I'm glad that my daughter is scared of other men, and it's not because she has bad experiences with me. It's because her experiences are so good with me, and she has such a good rapport with me that she doesn't need any other. Her glass is already full, and so that's something that I like to see. Shyness in a little girl is not a bad thing. Generally speaking, it's very good. So at least in that regard, and in my experience, that's a side point. But the thing what I was trying to say was, with her, because she's so smart, she's so intelligent, she can understand so much. She has a great command of the English language already. I mean, it's really phenomenal. So people they're blown away when they listen to her speak and stuff. We've been teaching her catechism questions and stuff like that. But every night before bed, when I put her down, because I don't put her down for bed every night, but when I do, I pray with her. And specifically, one of the things I pray for is, I pray blessings over her. And this is something I really like with like Brian Bay. He does this. He made songs for his little girls. Have you listened to those?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I've listened to a lot of his albums. I've probably
there's
a whole album
song. I don't remember.
Oh,
I think
it's on Hearth Songs
Daphne
or something
song,
like that.
Yeah. Daphne song and
I love that
Winnie's song. I think they were really good because, independent of that, I was doing the same thing when he prayed, like in the song, he prays like blessings over them, and almost the exact wording that I do in my prayer to my little girl. is like, I pray that you would be the Lord would bless your womb, and that you'd be the mother of 10,000. Your children would rise and call you blessed, and that to 1,000 generations and beyond, that kind of thing. I always pray that with her. And then right before bed, I do it again. I'll put my hand on her head. And she started doing this totally independent. I said, I put my hand on her head when I was tucking her in, and I said, may the Lord bless you and keep you and protect you. And then, I said, and make you the mother of 10,000. So I just kind of said it again one night. And she responded to me, and I didn't prompt it. She responded to me and said, and may your children rise and call you blessed. Amen. And so every night I've been doing that with her again. She's 2. She started doing this when she was maybe a little bit earlier than 2. I've been doing this probably for 6 months with her now, because I would say that in a prayer with her every night. When I said it after we were done praying and I had tucked her in, she responded back to me with the rest of that little blessing. And I thought it was so adorable that I keep doing it. But that's just one example of really simple, practical, intentional fatherhood. That is, I'm a young guy, so I have a lot to learn. And so I almost feel uncomfortable giving, fatherly advice, but I am a father at least. And so I am just saying what I do, right? This is just what I do. Take it or leave it. But I found that just something simple like that, I think could really, really impact, especially daughters, but impact your children's lives. If you just pray with them every night before bed. I mean, it sounds so cliche, but it's the fundamentals, right? It's just get the fundamentals right. And I've really dropped the ball on family worship, and I've been trying to do that this year. And this year is a big focus for me on that. And the latter half of last year is when I kind of started in. But I've dropped the ball up until this point. Thankfully, my children aren't that old yet, so I still have a lot of time left with them to catechize them and to do family worship. But those are just some things that I think are really helpful. Like, so that's what I told the guy. I was like, be present, pray with them, do family worship, and those sort of things. And there's my own personal example. Take it, and run with it if you want. But
I heard Doug Wilson say in one of his talks that love is commitment and presence. And I really liked that. Because, the biblical admonition is husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church, and wives, reverence, respect your husbands, right? So I think in the sermon series, like he was talking about what is love. I think it's a two-part series. I'll see if I can find it. Maybe it was Grace Agenda, something like that. And when he gave that definition of love as being commitment and presence, I was like, yes. Because how do you break down love for a man? Like, what does it mean for me to be loving? Like, give me practical, actionable, language, because the word love is so complex. But commitment and presence is like, absolutely. That's something that any man, as soon as you say it to him, like, there's no square, like, well, what do you mean commitment? What do you mean presence? Like, those are not the questions you should be asking. Yeah. Those are not good questions to ask. You know what those things are. And are you capable of giving them? Meaning, like, are you truly committed? Are you truly committed to the people that you love? Or are you truly committed to your wife? Or do you have, like, obviously not you, but do you have, like, secret sins on the side? Pornography, other kind of chat rooms kind of going on. Like, what's your Instagram, feed look like? Stuff like that. But presence is a really hard one today for everybody, because we have distractions. It's probably always been hard because there's always something else to think about. Yeah. But if you're truly committed to your wife, your fiance, your girlfriend, whatever, or anyone in front of you, and you're truly committed and you're really present with them, that's how love is felt. And that's unforgettable. What was it that someone said? That people will not remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel when you said it. And that's what commitment and presence does, is maybe your daughter won't remember the prayer for the 10,000s years from now. Maybe she will, but she will remember that her father was committed and present with her. And that's what gives her that what it sounds to me like endearing shyness. And we've lost that sense that that's a quality that women should have. Again, you have the Hermione Granger example, where it's just like brassy and in everybody's face and telling them what's what, et cetera. And like, that's aspirational. Or Sex in the City, or Captain Marvel, or, Rey Skywalker, or whatever, you know what I mean? That's right. And it's like, and so in the face of that, and actually I think it's in the book, The Disciplines of the Godly Man by Kent Hughes. I should pull it up, but it actually gave me something to think about, where it said there was a time, and I think we're still in that time, where it was considered fashionable to have a tomboyish daughter, meaning if you were in certain elite circles, having a daughter who was shy, probably a little bit more like what you'd read in like a Jane Austen novel, right? Love Jane Austen, by the way. What you would have in those novels, was out of fashion. And what was in fashion in elite circles was having, an outspoken, quote unquote bossy girl boss, kind of daughter. And that shyness became like, it was considered a mark of shame if you had a shy and kind of might call submissive daughter. And we see the results of that. Like, how do we re-achieve that shyness? How do we re-achieve that endearingness? And I was going to write on Twitter the other day about, because someone posted, men literally will think that a woman is being nice with them and that she's flirting or something along, like a man will think that if just because a woman's right. Okay. And it was a feminist account and I wrote a response that wasn't articulate as I wanted it, but deleted it. But the essence of it is like, she doesn't understand that for centuries, the only women that most men ever interacted with were their wives, sisters, relatives, stuff like that, right? Men weren't just walking around in the city square talking to women behind the counter. They didn't encounter them in commercial or political life, right? We're designed as men to look for signals of interest. That's what we're made to do, particularly as single men. And so when you take men, you liberate women out into the world with men's designed to be looking for signals of interest. Yeah, we're constantly going to be looking for signals of interest, right? And so, it's not a consequence of men somehow being broken or wrong that they just don't understand how women communicate. It's like men and women are different, and we're not supposed to be mixing to the degree that we are, because it causes, guess what? All kinds of social problems. And what's the cost for that? Well, the feminists would say men have to become more like women. I would say the actual cost is women need to become more like women.